Huh? Kaboom.
Ba 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 ba. Okay, chat. We gotta talk about Marvel Rivals success. You guys know how much I like Marvel Rivals. It's a really fun game. And I've been saying this for a really long time, but I fully believed from the second it was in beta, even though I didn't get access to play it early on, that it was going to contest Overwatch like for everything it has. Because the game looked good. It has the different interactions you can have for pairing up with people. And lo and behold, Bellular did a video about how Marvel Rivals is dominating, and it isn't even close. Yeah, it's because of Jeff. Jeff is carrying.
We've all heard it said that hero shooters are a declining, oversaturated genre, and we know that there's a sizable graveyard. We just saw Concord die. But of course, that's an assessment that does not gel with Marvel Rivals' absolutely gigantic success. Because somehow in a year where everybody has been mocking publishers over hero shooters and generally just mocking a lot of live service titles, Marvel Rivals is absolutely thriving, and that is not an overstatement. It got 10 million players in its first 72 hours, and by now, it's actually hit 20 million. This is so much activity that Steam's backend even struggled, and for some developers, it broke. They were not able to access the Steam backend to update their stuff, and this was all timed with Marvel Rivals absolutely ramming Valve servers, and of course, their servers were getting rammed by both Tencent and NetEase because at the same time, Path of Exile 2 did happen to be doing quite well. So much so that together, Steam actually hit a new concurrency record of 39.2 million users online at once.
Yeah, that was two incredible launches, like, at the same time, and they both are doing fine.
Which is crazy. But that's not what's truly noteworthy to me. A free-to-play game exploding and then just falling to pieces, or people quickly running away, a flash in the pan, that is not a surprise. It's actually what we tend to expect. And on the internet, when people tell you something is shocking, it's often hyperbole. Here, no. This is a shocking chart. This is the retention that we are seeing with—
Wow, that's really good. Like, you know, the game did just come out, but usually you see, like, it start to fall off a little. It really hasn't. You know, that's not to say that it won't stay this popular forever, right? It hasn't even been a month, but, like, this is really good retention.
Marvel Rivals, and this is genuinely impressive. It has essentially maintained its launch peak for an entire fortnight. This is a vanishingly rare achievement. It is absolutely stunning. The daily lows for this game are resting at 180k, and well, they're good, the highs are good and regular, and I kind of remember the words of our erstwhile Prime Minister Theresa May, strong and stable. It's rare for a new game to be that strong and stable, and if you're Blizzard, you're absolutely going to be feeling a sting. So much so, you'll definitely need to check out today's sponsor. Boot.dev, they're a long-time channel supporter, and they actually just got better. So what they do, right, is they teach you back-end development using Python and Go. They're
a sponsor that teaches
structured
you
as a community RPG. They're
Python. That's pretty based.
Made by fellow viewers of this channel, and what's really nice is their clean, fresh new UI, and it's so good because in the world of just
it teaches you how to code. Look.
Soulless designs, they're actually leaning into RPG. I love it. It's so nice and rich. And on top of that, they've got another awesome feature called Spellbook that they just shipped, and it is so cool. So as you're progressing through lessons, right, you unlock new Spellbook pages, and these are all like fully searchable. They're full of concept explainers, documentation, code examples, and you can bring it up with just the hit of a hotkey, and that's all unlocked in line with your progress, which—
That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, like, I really support sponsors that, like, teach new things. I think it's the Boot.dev, right? The one that's in the top right of the video.
Is really powerful for learning. And that's really what I love about Boot. It's designed as an overall experience, not just a product. And when you're learning, I think that's just so important. Now, their learning pathway is substantial. You start from, of course, the basics, like your Python fundamentals, learning the likes of, say, Lua, then through to really cool example projects like a server client Pokedex, through to a whole module on finding a job in industry, like actual practical advice, and bonus deeper learning modules as well. It's really cool, made by two brothers. You can tell that the whole thing is made with so much heart because, yeah, big corporations just can't really do it like that. With my link, you get 25% off your first purchase, so I'd go for annual. That's how you save the most money. And of course, if it's not for you, they have a no questions asked 30-day refund, and of course, you can actually browse their materials and their demos for free. So what the hell's going on here? Marvel Rivals is a free-to-play just like Overwatch, but that's not really an even comparison because of price anchoring. Overwatch 1 was a paid game, and it was far less of a playable storefront than Overwatch 2 has ended up being, and that's what made Overwatch 2 sting. Of course, contrasted with all of the cool stuff that we were shown at BlizzCon that of course never ended up happening. With Rivals, well, it just has audience expectations being met. Everybody knows what to expect. I mean,
see, so the problem that I think Overwatch has is under-delivering. Never meeting expectations, or like telling people something's there that's not going to be like the single player mode. I think if you meet your audience's expectations, like people will be happy. So for example, like Marvel Rivals has a paid shop already in the game, and it hasn't even been there a month, and their like shop skins are pretty expensive. But Marvel Rivals has always had that, you know what I mean? And their gameplay's good, everything feels nice. They have, I think, what was it, 40 characters on launch? So nobody's upset by that. It's all cosmetic. Like, I've been saying this for a while, but all it was going to take was a decent game coming out that does what Overwatch does, but better. And it was going to take over any type of insomnia people had for Overwatch. It wasn't going to be enough. And also, Overwatch has burned bridges time and time again. So I feel like Overwatch was only really succeeding at this point because people didn't have another option.
Extreme example, on this very channel, we caught a lot of flack for being harsh on the Delta Force microtransactions. To us, they were pretty damn bad microtransactions. That's why we criticized them.
Delta Force? What is this game? Is this a game that recently came out? I haven't heard anything about this one.
I'm heavy in that video, but clearly a lot of people didn't care at all, really. And I imagine it's because it was a free-to-play game, and it basically met their expectations. Here then, Rivals is made by NetEase Games. They're a group who absolutely know how to retain players based on the countless large-scale free-to-play live service titles that they run, many of which are, of course, are on mobile, and, well, they have many investments in so many other games as well. Now, brand-wise, this has got Marvel, but it's got a flavor of Marvel that, at least from my outsider's perspective, doesn't seem tarnished by MCU fatigue. I mean, looking at the game, they're clearly leaning into comic art in a way that's actually cool. Their designs shine. It is the opposite of Concord. Concord's a game that did have a few banging bits of concept art, but my god, there are not even words to describe how badly that all translated into Sony Photoreal 3D.
There was no way that Concord would have succeeded because the gameplay didn't feel good. The characters didn't feel good. And those are the two things that matter, right? If you're playing a hero shooter, the heroes need to be something that people identify with or really enjoy. And you also need to have good gameplay. The game needs to feel good.
It just didn't work. But Marvel Rivals has another strength. It is not wholly original, and you may think that's me just absolutely launching into an attack, but look, it is pretty similar to Overwatch.
No, I don't think so.
That's not really the main point. One person who did try to make a point in this, though, was Mike Ybarra, our dearly departed Blizzard president.
What did he say?
Who is still out there hunting down some tasty high-growth opportunities. He launched a rather infamous tweet. I'm just going to read it out for you, and hey, you gotta get it here because he deleted the original. Quote, "Looks like Overwatch Marvel Rival ships tomorrow. I mean, even the character name, Widowmaker in Overwatch versus Black Widow in Marvel Rivals.
Oh, no,
lol.
he didn't.
NetEase Tencent, all the same." Oh, Mike.
So you think that they copied you? You think that because they have a girl sniper that's good looking, that it's the same thing as yours? How long? Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, Black Widow's existed since how long? Black Widow existed before Blizzard even thought of what Overwatch would be. It was in the 90s. Wasn't Blizzard still like making stuff out of like a garage or something at that point? Like, sit down.
Kind of had a point buried through the stupidity, but the tweet absolutely is just him literally saying that Black Widow, a character introduced in the year 1964, was a Widowmaker knockoff, which is not true. You could maybe say his actual point, though, is the character kits. In a way, it makes the point he was trying to make, but it also shows why people are resonating with this game. Black Widow has got a
Also, hot take, but probably not so hot take. If you were somebody who played Widowmaker, I think you would actually have more fun playing Black Widow than Widowmaker because she actually has more engaging gameplay and she actually feels better to play, more rewarding and more versatile than Widowmaker does.
Rifle, it's got a scoped mode that does more damage, she's got a grappling hook. So yeah, she will totally appeal to Widowmaker mains. But take a look at gameplay footage they have added to the kit. You've got a knockback kick, you've got a melee baton plus charged plasma round, and it does come together to actually play differently. Now I get why Ybarra tweeted, but the gameplay...
You don't have like a what is it? Widowmaker has a grapple, a way to see people through like infrared... what is it? I think it's like a little mine she could shoot down. But like, if you catch Widowmaker, like if you come up behind her, you're kind of screwed. Like basically, if you close quarters with Widowmaker, like that's it. Whereas Black Widow, it's like she has some defenses if characters like get too close to her, right? She has different uses. It's not like, oh, somebody got within arm's reach, so that's it.
Here is different, especially with its close range third-person brawl element that's going on. And that's the point. Rivals does not just copy, generally speaking, it iterates. Now there's always going to be genre crossover. Maybe I'm going to take a look at, say, Paladins from Hi-Rez, but Marvel Rivals is different. Like Overwatch, it's got the split between tank, DPS, and support, and many of the 33 launch heroes do have direct crossovers, some that are absolutely leaned into. I mean, Black Widow probably doesn't need to be a sniper, and yeah, she'll definitely be like that to appeal to the Widowmaker mains. And some of them are inherent, like Hawkeye and Hanzo, who are both bow users, or Symmetra and Doctor Strange, who both use portals. But the thing that matters is that Rivals gets to cook with almost 70 years of inspiration and a wealth of real-world player experience from other hero shooters, and that means what we've got is a slick game that is an iteration rather than a clone.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I don't like this idea that, like, because Blizzard made, like, one of the most, you know, popular hero shooters, that nobody can use the formula of having, like, you know, an attractive female sniper or a male that uses a bow. Like, they can't just do this, especially when Blizzard is, like, infamous for taking from other people.
That is the point that Ybarra's absolutely dunked on tweet missed, and I think it's why this is a game that is actually surprising and delighting people. It has iterated and brought its formula forward, and in a way it's done that against traditional wisdom that would say that hero shooter is on the downtrend, that there's MCU fatigue, and that the track record with hero games is actually pretty damn bad. When we think hero game, we're all just going to think of PlayStation Spider-Man, but that's because we've forgotten the massive graveyard of dead games, and even the Marvel graveyard, which will
By the way, I am somebody who is not a big fan of Marvel comics. I don't go see, like, Marvel movies. I'm not somebody who has, like, kept up to date on anything. The game is good. It is literally a gateway that a lot of people who like hero shooters who are never interested in Marvel will become interested in it because it's so good.
Of Square Enix's Avengers in it. That was very much the lol cow of its here. But even good games that have got, like, big popular Marvel superheroes have failed to meet financial expectations.
Yeah, like, that's the thing, right? So many games that have been, like, from the Marvel universe haven't done well. So if anything, this should have failed. But it is so good that it's just funny. It's like, see, Blizzard, you can have an IP that people are sick of. Like, there's plenty of people that say, like, I'm sick of Marvel movies. I don't want any more of them. You know, they're sick of Marvel-related superhero games. There's no market for them. And if you do it right, you'll change their mind.
We've got two examples of this. One is Guardians of the Galaxy, and the other is Firaxis's Midnight Suns. And the thing is, those were both really good, well-reviewed games that just didn't sell. And then, of course, there's the now rather end-of-life Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Before that, there's Gotham Knights. So
oh my god, I forgot how many bad ones there are. I forgot how many bad ones there are. See, it doesn't matter.
Good time. By comparison, though, Marvel Rivals has got half of the internet standing Jeff the bloody Landshark, who I didn't even know existed, and it turns out has only existed since 2019. So this is not a case of put heroes in it that people know and suddenly everyone will start playing.
Oh, he's got a really good point, because Jeff is new. Jeff has only been here since, like, late 2000s, right? Most people don't know who Jeff is. He's like a smaller entry and very recent.
No, what they've done is they've nailed the basics. They have carefully chosen some deep pools, they've chosen things that everybody knows, and they've executed it all to an extremely high standard.
2019, yeah.
The mechanical diversity of this game,
take that. So it's just funny because any allegations they could use against them doesn't work, right? It's like, oh, you've existed on an IP people know. It's like, well, so has Blizzard, and then, you know, and also the games that exist under, you know, Marvel have been bad. They have a reputation for being bad. It's because people know those characters. You have a head start. It's like, yeah, well, you know, one of the most popular characters that's basically used as a mascot is Jeff. And most people had no idea what a Jeff was until they found him in Marvel Rivals.
Considering that it's only just launched is absolutely insane. And that's a large
Download
part of
Marvel
why
Rivals. It's better.
people will play it over Overwatch. One team can
has
have,
a
let's
Jeff.
see, a teleporting ninja fight, multiple flight-based characters, web swingers, and where the web swinging actually feels good. If you've got Rocket and Groot, then you actually get an entirely new ability and game-wide mechanic on top of your existing set.
See, I think this is so cool, by the way. Since I didn't get to play this game in beta, I was really nervous if it would be too complicated to constantly have, like, different player team-ups and have different abilities with them. But they did it so well, and it only makes the game feel, like, different every time you play it. You know, it only adds to, like, a uniqueness to the game that also, like, incentivizes teamwork because it just feels more fun to do it that way. It's just a good game.
And to quote from the game's director, the awesomely named Thaddeus Sasser, well, he basically said this: "I don't know about you, but when I heard the concept of the game, I was like, oh my god, I want to be Storm in a game. I want to be Doctor Strange in a game. I want these heroes in the game. That sounds awesome." And of course, my mind immediately leapt to all the cool possibilities you could have with that.
Yeah, so, like, the people who do like Marvel and want more from it, it really capitalized on this because there wasn't... Like, there's single-player games, I guess, that kind of do this, but this really, really nails this fantasy, you know? It feels good, and you get to be around the characters from other universes, and yeah.
And that seems like a very trite thing. I mean, of course he's going to say it. He's the director for the game. And it's absolutely not a fair one-to-one comparison, but do you know what appears in my head? Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, where the first reaction from most people when they watched that E3 trailer was, oh, this looks like a generic third-person shooter. Why are we just doing shoot-bang with guns? This doesn't really feel like Heroes. Which, obviously, broad market perception, what consumers thought, was not enough to get that game any cut-through. But look, that's enough lavishing this game.
Man, see, that game, though, man, it hurts my head just looking at it. Like, Suicide Kill the Justice League is like a game that will give you a migraine after, like, a few minutes.
And with praise, let's get back to business, especially because there's a statistic that puts this whole thing in context. Matt Piscatella's got 2 decades of industry analysis experience. He's the executive director of Circana. They're a long-time analytics firm. They are not small. You actually may know one of the companies they just acquired, Nielsen, as in Nielsen of television ratings fame. So they're a big fish with massive corporate clients. Literally,
Okay.
their stock in trade is actually having good analytics. And what's great is Matt shares loads of games data in public. This chart shows the percentage of weekly actives by game title, and better than anything, this shows just how winner takes all this industry is, because we can see that the top 5 games hold 75% of audiences, like just by player numbers.
Wow.
And if you're an indie, in a way, that's okay, because you're fighting for the 25% of the
Right.
audience, not the big 75%. You don't need that insane level of scale to be successful.
Yeah, that's
But if
true.
you are a major AAA live service, you need to make a dent in that 75%. You need to fight with those games that are taking so many people in an absolute winner-takes-all industry. And of course, it's failing to do that leads to the likes of, say, X-Defiant going under the way that it did, Concord immediately dying because there was no real universe where it was going to get itself to where it needed to be. And it's in that context that Rivals is actually impressive, because in a winner-takes-all industry, it has managed to get cut through. And this is what their director had to say. It's pretty wise. There's a switching cost. I've already invested in Overwatch. I've got 15 skins for Pharah. I'm not going anywhere. I think the trick is you need to have that reason that people want to come and play your game, and I think Marvel Rivals does that exactly with the superhero. And
Yeah, see, this is what I mean. This is the only thing Overwatch had that was keeping people on their game and not going for another one. So it's like the investment people have from, like, nostalgia or playing a game for a while or investing in it is kind of all that Overwatch really had hanging on to, right? And that there wasn't a better option. Like, yes, that is a strong component, but it's not impossible for another game to come out and take over that. I always feel this way, like, when a game is waiting, like, look at how Pokemon's doing. Like, so much success happened for Pal World because they just did the things that people were asking for. You know what I mean? And so it's like, the reason I don't like, you know, people getting upset, like, I don't know, the Blizzard dev or whatever getting upset that he thinks that Black Widow is copying Widowmakers. It's like, if you do this, like, there won't be competition. Like, you can provide these things, but you can't just sit on your like throne and not want to improve and then not allow for competition in the space as you sit on top of your things and then like don't make good products.
And that's basically the big point, nailing fantasy and using the comics as an excuse to go extremely hard on designs and to make those designs fundamentally appealing. That has worked. Look, I'm not trying to be cruel to Concord on purpose, but just look at the skin variants. Look at what they look like, and now look at the things that you can buy within this game. So, Mr. Herman Hulst of PlayStation, if you're confused about why Concord, which you reportedly were really bullish about, if you're kind of confused why it didn't really work out, this is a really good example. But even with all that good, there are two things to discuss. Number one, business model. It's coming under some critique and for strange ways because it does seem a little bit poorly thought out. But also that this game is actually walking a very similar path to Overwatch, and they are going to have to be careful and make sure that they do not step into all of the rakes that, of course, Blizzard stepped into.
I mean, sure, right? It's a similar game type. It's got the audience from Overwatch for sure that have been like, you know, just waiting to jump ship if there was a better ship than the one they were on. After Overwatch, like, just literally made a secondary game that didn't have anything better than the first game.
Meaning that Blizzard hit themselves in the face. Monetization first, and I'd say that it's mixed, though fundamentally it does have something that Overwatch does not have in that it is a third-person game. Now if you look at Counter-Strike, I mean obviously it's guns and knives because those are the most tangible and visible things, but with say League of Legends, which has now got hyper-expensive skins that can cost hundreds of dollars, that's third person. You can see your character. It's almost as if regularly seeing the thing that you're expected to buy kinda matters.
Yes, it definitely does. I like seeing my character.
Has got the standard suite. It's got a battle pass, it's got cosmetic bundles, but where things get a little bit dementia-inducing is, of course, currencies is one of those. So all those things I mentioned are purchased using units, and you can get units through battle pass progression, challenges, events, and something that NetEase knows very well indeed, promo codes. So you may not know this if you don't play them, but promo codes are a massive part of the gacha game world and culture. Basically, gacha game players are not stupid. They know that it is a crazy gambling hellscape, but the peace is kept because the gacha companies generally deliver a shitload of content, and they're often quite generous when it comes to things like promo codes, especially in major holidays and anniversaries. So their inclusion here is a smart leg up on the Western competition. It means...
Yep. So it's like, they might be aware of the downsides of the monetization in a lot of gacha games, but what keeps them there is that, like, okay, on one hand, the monetization, you know, maybe you don't like it, but on the other hand, there's always new content. The game is never struggling. So you're delivering on the player's demands. So that's kind of how they do that, right? The game feels good, plays well, has new content, gives you free things.
If they just want to hit the engagement lever, they can do that. Now what's odd then is the premium currency, which is called Lattice. It's $1 per 100, it's purchasable in discounted bundles, which all seems completely normal. But what's strange is it's used in only one way, converting all of your Lattice into units at a 1-to-1 ratio, which does feel really quite overcomplicated. Then, of course, like Fortnite, there is a currency that you use within the Battle Pass to unlock things. Now, I have noticed pricing is raising some eyebrows. I mean, yes, things are extremely expensive in free-to-play games. You're basically looking at...
I don't have any problem with skins in games. I do dislike having multiple currencies that get confusing. I just don't like it.
Costing $20 worth of units or $35 worth of units if it is an MCU thing. And of course, to explain the MCU thing, well, obviously, the mouse has got to get its cut. But there is one thing where I actually think we've seen good movement here. The Marvel Rivals Battle Passes do not expire, just like Halo Infinite and just like Helldivers 2. This is one of the things that I have been hammering on about for quite a while now in the industry. I think that expiring Battle Passes, say in Overwatch 2 and so many other games, are basically tantamount to FOMO exploiting pseudo-theft.
I also don't know if he's going to say this because he doesn't play the game, but you will earn your money back. It will be in-game currency, but you earn all the lattice back that you spend in different forms of currency. I think you actually earn additional forms too, I think. but you earn all of it back in-game money if you complete it, so you can buy the next one. You literally buy it once and keep playing the game, and you'll end up having enough to get it again the next time one comes out.
I mean, the idea that you could buy one of these things and then it'll just go kaput, and that they actually weaponize FOMO to sell you progression through the thing that you already bought. Because whenever you buy a battle pass, yeah, you might intend to finish out the thing, but life can get in the way. If that happens in this video game, you're still going to have your battle pass. You will not have been screwed. Blizzard will happily screw you in all of their games with the way that they do their battle passes. So this is absolutely a good move, and I hope that a real major game that is—
It's almost like they were doing it that way because there was no other competition, so they just decided to be very greedy about it, even if it upset the player base, because they weren't being held to a higher standard.
Doing numbers like this, implementing this type of battle pass actually gets rewarded, because this is what needs to be the norm. So overall, it's mostly standard, a little bit of a mixed bag, but they have made a major piece of progress. The next thing to talk about then is the challenge of running a game like this, because already they are seeing cries and demands from players for the sorts of features that some people in Overwatch loved and others didn't. Launch Overwatch 1 was a blast. It was an—
Is it Q? I'm guessing it's a roll queue.
Often busted blast, and many of us experienced that with the classic event. Now, with top-down pressure to focus in the Overwatch League and an internal desire to actually make Overwatch 2 PvE instead, so that they could have a stepping stone to something that would approximate Project Titan, the failed MMO, it's safe to say that Overwatch struggled with direction just a little bit. That still is playing out today, where Overwatch has basically morphed into its PvP self, and if you had hopes for anything else, well, man, that just sucks. Now, Rivals is a bit like launch Overwatch.
To be fair, though, they made a promise and put... Basically, I feel like they wanted to make Overwatch 2 because they needed more money. And so they made promises to people and didn't go through with it. I don't really feel sorry for them. Like, they you know, lost track of their direction. It's like, no, they literally sold a product that they said was going to be one thing and then literally was, like, copy-paste of the first thing. So they never needed to make a second one for you to buy. Ay, ay, ay.
It is completely busted, and it's a bloody good time that's thrilling players, but it does mean they're seeing similar pressures. A lot of people want some form of role log. They will also want some form of role queue. How are they going to deal with this?
There it is. I told you I bet he was going to mention this.
And I say that because we've typically seen live service shooters through a ranked progress first, esports focused lens, something I see a lot of pushback to in comments of our videos. So navigating that is going to be a challenge here, especially because they have got such a broad audience. An audience that, in terms of its dynamics, I would say is far closer to the Overwatch 1 ginormous audience than the far smaller and I suppose more clearly competitive PvP focused Overwatch 2 audience. Now, where Overwatch was torn between multiple directions, it's clear that things are going to be a little bit different here, because this game is launching the way that it was intended. It's got 3-month seasons, multiple maps and heroes a season. That's the way that the thing is set up. They also get to have obvious marketing around films, major comic things, games, but right now, its real strength is a distinct lack of a calcified ranked PvP focused culture, which is what's set in Overwatch 2, where of course lots of people within that culture—
I kind of see that and I kind of don't. So what I mean is, it's hard to say don't let a competitive game become too competitive. At its heart, this game is a competitive game. No, we shouldn't focus on the people who are like hyper sweating at the top of the ladder, but this game isn't like an MMO. It is a competitive game. I understand, at least for ranked players, why they are frustrated when people don't want to pick a role. When winning matters, people care when people don't want to do the things that result in a win, right? Makes sense? Now, for regular queue, I don't think they should touch anything, by the way. There's a normal mode in the game, and also the way that they keep it less competitive than Overwatch is they have a lot of rewards and systems to play for that are fun, like goals in the game that don't have to do with winning in ranked. There's a lot to do in casual play. In fact, I think all of them. I don't think there's any real rewards. Is there? I don't think there's any rewards in the game for ranked. So I would say they incentivize casual play with more rewards than ranked does. I guess what I mean is, I understand when people want systems put in to add more structure to PvP. I don't think that this is the right answer, though. I think the reason they think that is because that's the only thing they've seen people implement. Does that make sense? It's like, man, my team won't pick a tank, or my team won't pick a heal, and we really needed one, and I didn't feel like filling it this game, and therefore we did not win. And so people are looking at what Overwatch did as the only example of a quote-unquote solution, even if it's a bad one, because it's the only one they can think of. It's the only one they've seen, right? It doesn't mean it's the right one, but I can empathize with it, and I can understand why they think that's the answer, because they just haven't seen... They haven't seen another solution, right? I think we just have to let this game play out a little longer, because if they're anything like me, once you've played a little bit, you'll realize there's plenty of circumstances where you'll have, you know, one less tank, one extra healer, and it will work out actually really well. And it might not have if you stuck to the 2-2-2 rule. And I think once they've let the game cook a little bit and realize that, they won't want it. Because there's a lot of ways to play the game. And the fact that it doesn't have as much structure, and there is a lot of freedom, and there is a lot of combinations between heroes that can help carry a team, depending on who you choose, and it has nothing to deal with, to do with roles. I think that gives it something Overwatch didn't have. Does that make sense? I unironically think the way the game is built actually is the reason why I wouldn't. I think that what they've put in the game actually allows it to not need a role queue, but another game that is like Overwatch that doesn't have those systems might need one. I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if it needs one, but in a game that doesn't have these extra options, it makes a lot more sense. Because you would have to be more rigid to win if there wasn't advantages put in for being creative or doing different combinations.
Sure don't agree with each other on what direction the game should go in. And what that essentially means to me is that in terms of gameplay, this is the inheritor to Overwatch 1's crown. Now, from a world building perspective, it is not an inheritor to Overwatch 1, and that is the thing that's tragic about Overwatch 1. So many people fell in love with the world, only to be profoundly let down, where the Overwatch world has basically just turned into an excuse to have branded crossover events. We live in hell. But at least if you like that gameplay, you've now got a game that seems catered to you. And NetEase's challenge then is avoiding the mistakes of Blizzard. I
think they're doing so great. I love Marvel Rivals right now. I'm very excited that right from launch, they've been here, not even a month, and they already have, like, more than Overwatch had in, like, many years. They already have a event right now where you get a free skin right now. And, like, they're just doing so much that Overwatch just made excuse after excuse that it wasn't possible, and they're doing it on launch. There's been a demand for this for a long time, so I'm just really happy to see them succeed. I really like the game. I've been having lots of fun with it, and I'm happy for Overwatch players that they get to play something fresh and new and not have a company that just sits on the IP and kind of doesn't care about their player base anymore, because that's kind of how it was feeling. People wanting to play hero shooters are winning. Also Jeff, all right? Try Marvel Rivals. it has Jeff. It's a Jeff diff. Jeff diff.